Boom, and we are back with another fantastic episode of the Shadow Mark podcast. I'm so excited to be here tonight. I am joined by special guest, Mr. Scott Sneed. We will talk about him later. And Mr. TJ Davidson is my always co-host.
What up?
How you doing tonight, buddy?
Fantastic.
Fantabulous. That's what I like to hear. And then joining us tonight with a also fantastic mustache, as well as myself and TJ, is Mr. Donald Dunn, who runs and operates Two Drunk Dudes in a Gunroom and Gunroom Radio. And tonight we'll be talking a little bit about both. And I'm very excited to have you on tonight, man. I'm just super excited about the whole thing, man. So why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself. Let's get your background, man. Let's hear what you've been through, what you've done.
So, let's see. I went in the military in 1994. Did 20 years. 68 months of it was overseas. Bosnia, Iraq, and Afghanistan. After getting out of the military, I did like what every other soldier wants to do. I created my own job because I really didn't get along with others and couldn't find work. So I opened up a trucking company. I ran that for about 6 years when my mom's health kind of took a turn. So I ended up taking a job offer, closing my business and taking a job offer here in Missouri where I'm at now. And started the Two Drunk Dudes in a Gunroom podcast. And here this last month or so, opened up Gunroom Radio.
That's fantastic, man. So where are you originally from? This I only bring this up because I'm pretty sure I know the answer, and I'm like, oh yeah, we got cool people from here.
Originally Nebraska.
That's what I'm talking about. That's yeah, we're just woo woo up here in Nebraska, man.
That's where I entered the military at. I was in I lived right outside Lincoln, is where I lived.
Just a bunch of corny motherfuckers,
awesome.
you know.
Yeah. That's it.
Hey, we may be corny, but we got soy too. So thank you very much. You're welcome for all of your soy lattes and everything else that comes with it.
I don't know what I do without it.
I don't know what you do without it either, man. You're a soy latte drinking mofo. Yeah. I can tell by the mustache.
That's what makes that mustache so thick, man.
Not the only thing, you know what I'm saying?
So you're talking about protein? Yeah. You're talking about the protein?
Yeah, he's talking about his skull. Yeah. His skull is also thick, so we have that going for us. So you went to Bosnia, Iraq, Afghan. You did all of that. What were you doing when you were doing that? When you were all of those places?
So I started out as a wheel mechanic. I spent let's see. I came out and went to Korea, the one place that no married guy wants to start his career out, but that's where I went, was Korea. And then we went to Fort Bliss. I was going to get out of the military at Bliss, but it was so shitty. It was better to re-enlist to get out of there than it was to wait until I could ETS. So I re-enlisted. We went to Germany, and that was kind of the turning point. That's where things got a little bit better. I actually got what they call leadership. Up to that point, you know, I had good leaders in Korea, but man, I had such a negative attitude when I left Fort Bliss because it was shitty. But so I did that, and then when we came up on orders coming out of Germany, I volunteered to go to a unit called the 160th SOAR, and after going through selection for that and getting accepted, I stayed there for 10 years, and then I went back to the regular Army as a wheel mechanic, and spent my last few years there until I retired.
That's awesome, dude. So you got all that going on. Did you encounter any combat while you were in?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I get, you know, none of us like to talk about it. So, you know, we're happy to leave that one unturned for sure. So you get back and you're like, what am I doing with life? you create your own trucking company, right?
Yep. I couldn't find work.
Yeah.
So when I got out, man, I picked a place that was a great place to retire, but not such a great place to find work. Love the community, love my house. There was no jobs. That was right after all these bailouts happened with the uh, Ford dealerships and GM. All they were closing all businesses. We had every dealership in our town. And when shortly by the time I got out, all that was left was a Chevy dealer. None of the mom and pop shops were hiring mechanics. Um, the Chevy dealership definitely wasn't hiring because that was the better paying of the jobs. So, I mean, the town was filled full of unemployed mechanics. And the nearest direction to go in any place to find work was either 40 miles one way to Brunswick or 70 miles south to Savannah. So
No
I just,
kidding.
I bought a truck and what my job was in the military anyways was working on diesel. So just bought a truck.
So, I mean, your option was to travel or to travel.
Yep.
Right.
I figured at least get paid to travel.
I mean, gosh, man, like I just can't even imagine. So you have all that going on, and then somehow you get this brilliant idea where you're like, what can I do for veterans? And you come up with two drunk dudes in a gun room. What's the thought process like for that?
So let's back up just a little bit, right? So
Perfect.
When I got out of the military, right, right before I retired, my first sergeant, his name was First Sergeant Norton. He recruited me to move to a unit that he was moving to, and we made a deal. He knew that at the end of the day, I just wanted to retire. I didn't want any more schools. I was done, and so I did a deployment with him, and he dropped me off basically. So we got to Al Assad, and then we found out that they were controlling a very small outpost, and they needed some people to go out there. So he selected me to go to Ramadi and set up basically a maintenance facility for the convoys that were going from Al Assad to Fallujah and back. And then I was also in charge of training the Iraqis for logistics and maintenance over there. So when I got there, all that was there was two civilians, a tent, and an overhang building that it had no walls, but it was just like a barn, a pole barn that they were working out of. And
Right.
by the time I left, it was the third largest maintenance facility in Iraq. So a lot of work went into it, and after I ETS'd and decided that I was going to move back to Missouri, I was going to take my mom and move her to Georgia. My wife and kids are still in Georgia, but she was going to lose so much in healthcare that
Right.
I just couldn't afford to cover the bills. So that same first sergeant offered me a position here in Missouri, and I took that job. And when I came back here, we decided we were going to go hang out with the VFW, and man, it's real cliquey. It wasn't exactly what we had anticipated. We weren't doing anything for veterans. Hardly anybody drank. So other than them playing bingo, that's all they really cared about because that's all that made them money. And
Right.
so we started the podcast. He was opening up a gun shop is what he was opening up, doing custom work on guns. So we both like to drink, and that's where the name came from, man. We filmed it in there in his gun room, and there was two of us, and we were both drinking, two drunk dudes in a gun room. So if you go back to our first season, you'll see, man, ammo and reloaders and just everything all around us. Guns up on the wall. That's what kept us getting banned on TikTok because of the guns in the background. But
As you sit with guns in the background.
oh yeah, dude. I don't think there's a room that I could go in that I wouldn't have a gun, or at least access to one. So,
because this is America and that's how it should be.
I agree, man. I agree.
Because we have 25,000 guns and we should have all of those in one house.
I agree. I mean,
I think so, man. I think it sounds great. I would love to have that many guns.
I agree.
I lack the financial experience to do that.
You have one gun already, right? I mean,
you and me both, man. I've still got a Valkyrie that I'm building because money.
Oh, that's so awesome.
It's gotten tight, so it still sits in my little gun room off to the side.
We sit with
there.
this economy right now, and they're like, there's no what do you call it? What's that stuff called? Rises.
Inflation.
Inflation. There's no inflation, and we're like, I don't know, a piece I could get yesterday for $5 is now like 26. I don't know what you're talking about. There's no inflation. What?
Yeah.
Well, it went up to 29.
I did that today with whiskey.
So.
Yeah.
I sat there and I showed up and I was like, bro, your whiskey is expensive, man. He's like, I can't do anything about it. I said, what do you mean you can't do anything about it? I go to Walmart, get this for $10 cheaper.
You can make it in the garage.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'd be an idea.
I do happen to have a barrel that is aging as we speak. It is in my closet.
Let's get some Donald Dunn whiskey. Let's get some two drunk dudes in a gun room.
If you're at Hero Stock, you will have some. I'm bringing. I'm
gonna be there, man.
You're telling us that we're gonna get done up.
Yeah. So the label that I'm putting on it is called Bull Barrel Bourbon, is what it's called.
Nice.
I love that. That's awesome.
So,
you should now you got patent what TJ just said. Bull. What did you say? Bull.
Getting done up, man.
Yeah.
Getting done up. Bull Bear. Get done up.
There you go, man.
Bear whiskey. Get done up.
Yeah.
You need to patent that.
I agree, man.
What's up,
going
Eric?
on, Eric? But yeah, so that's where the podcast started from, man. And if you go back to our early episodes, man, you would see we were trying to be all like by the book and not cuss, and by episode 3 we were like, fuck this, man, this ain't us. So we just started hitting that little box that says explicit, and since then we ain't never looked back. We just bring on friends.
Get that, man.
Yeah, man. So we bring on friends and everything else, and then we kind of branched out and started bringing on organizations, and at the end of it, my first aunt Doug, he had to drop off for personal reasons, and so now you have to drink as the guest to the point to where you see 2 of me, so make it 2 drunk dudes.
That's ideal. I think that's a rule of thumb on our show too, as well. I think you have to, if you're not seeing 6 of us, are you even trying?
That's what I'm saying.
You're gonna twist my arm, I guess. Let me see if I can find something here.
We'll get cheers in here. Cheers, guys. I love you guys.
I got to work tomorrow, so I'm drinking.
That's
water.
Reasonable.
I'm hydrating. Oh, yeah. When you work in a smelting plant, it's a little hot.
Cheers, DJ. There it is. All right, now we got things going.
So
some of us just try not to care.
No, I'm with you, man. So the second season, I decided, 1, because I was by myself at this point, and 2, I wanted.
Well, let's go back. What leads to you being by yourself?
So if you don't mind, he dropped off for personal issues, and
that's
I don't want to disclose them because it's not my story.
Yeah, you don't have to. I was just curious as to what leads to you being by yourself, because you've been doing such a great job at this, man. Like it's just been such an honor to get to meet you and get to do the things that we've been doing with you. You know what I mean?
Yes, he does, buddy.
He sure does, buddy.
So
Him and me both.
that's my stage name. You know, I guess this is the persona. It's Ridiculous Dick Ridiculous. There's no backstory. I just thought it sounded cool, you know.
It does sound cool,
Every
man.
time TJ opens his mouth, it's just gold, man. I tell you what. But
I
no,
wish
we were
everybody felt that
talking.
way.
You were.
There's a new podcast right there.
We're going to start a TJ podcast where it's just random one-liners. We're going to delete all the extra output and just replace it with just TJ one-liners. So it'll just be like, oh, yeah, there you go. Eric's just coming in here clutch, co-hosting the podcast. What kept you going with the podcast?
Well, to
He's
be
a
honest,
driver.
man, you know, it was helping me more than, you know, I think I was helping anybody else, to be honest. You know, there was a lot of things that I didn't talk about until I started podcasting. And I don't know how deep you want me to get, but so one of the things, and I'll just talk about it now because it's part of this month. So this month is a challenging month. If you've seen my my page, you've seen I've been sharing quite a bit of stuff from soldiers that had passed.
Right.
So June 28th, 2000. What was the year? 2003, I believe it was. Operation Red Wing. A lot of you guys probably know it from the show The Lone Survivor, if you guys have seen that. So
Absolutely.
some good friends of mine, they were part of that QRF to go pull those guys out, and they were in the Chinook that got shot down. There was eight crew chiefs, counting the pilots, and there was 8 SEALs. As they were trying to infield that SEAL team, that second SEAL team, and they were trying to land a insurgent shot a rocket inside, and it was one of those shots that just he probably could have never fucking made again if he tried. But as they were landing, the ramp was down so that the crew chiefs could count it down as they were landing. Because I don't know if you know about Chinooks, the pilots can't see the ground when they're landing. They're facing towards the sky.
Right.
And the rocket went into the aircraft and hit the internal fuel tanks, and you know they were gone pretty quick, man.
I'm sure.
You know, and so you know, this time of the year it kind of gets shitty for me. And that's, you know, that's one of those things, man, that was some of the stories I hadn't told, you know, doing the funerals. I had just left 2 weeks, almost to the day after that happened, or before that happened. I left before it happened. Major Reich was he was the flight commander, battle commander, whatever you want to call him.
I was gonna say I've
And
heard that name associated with that.
he was the one that was in charge of the operation. And before we left, he had a bunch of the crew chiefs try to tie up the battalion commander. The battalion commander was flying back with me. Well, they got him, and they tied him up, put him in a chair out by the flagpole, and left him out there, right? And so we were supposed to leave early that morning, and a sandstorm came in, and our flight got canceled, so we were there another day. And our battalion commander, one by one, he got every single one of them back, right? Except for Major Reich. It didn't do anything to him. When we got back, Major Reich was a Jeep guy, and he absolutely loved his Jeep. So the battalion commander had us put it up on blocks, had us TP it, and then we took the wheels off of it, and then the battalion commander DHL'd his wheels to him in Afghanistan.
This is where TJ's going to come in and stop me for me crossing boundaries, or Scott, one of the two of them. Shit like this, man. I'm gonna break my own rules. We don't like getting political on the podcast, but I'm gonna get a little political because I can. And I only bring this up because it's something that's just been driving me crazy, because it is this month. This month is, Gay Pride Month. I've got nothing against, the LGBTQIA plus whatever the hell it is community. But I saw a sign and it said, "I fought for my flag. What did you do?" And that pissed me off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if I see one more of those signs, I'm going to stop and shove that flag right up their ass. When you're talking about how hard this month is for you, it made me, like, I started just thinking, I was like, people don't even know what it's like to have gone through the things that we've gone through. And I can't imagine sitting there being somebody who's been through everything like you have, and sitting there and just seeing stupid shit. I don't know. It's just crazy to me to see that. We should all be a little bit more empathetic towards each other, if you will. Yeah. And when you say stupid shit like that to me, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. I agree, man. And the hardest part, and a lot of that changed, man. I looked forward to deploying, but after that happened, man, it brought reality. I literally looked at everybody around us as, we were the fucking Night Stalkers, man. You're not shooting us down. You're not killing any of us, And when it absolutely happened the first time, it brings back to you how dangerous your job really is.
Yeah, and, exactly.
After that, you start deploying, and now you've got it in the back of your mind, because things that I seen for the process after the bodies come back and are received, and the funerals are being done, and the families are coming in, the memorials are happening, and you see that side of war, and it's tough, man.
Yeah.
And then you have to deploy. We were doing 3 months stints. You would deploy for 3 months, you'd come back to the States for 3 months, and then you deployed to the other theater for 3 months. So if you went to Afghanistan, you came back, you supported the base, so you'd be gone, you weren't home, you would be training with the 75th or supporting somebody, and then you would deploy again, and you would go to Iraq the next time, and then come back, and then back to Afghanistan. And so, it never ended. It just kept going on and on and on, until it got to the point where we didn't have enough people, and they had to bring in the Iowa National Guard to start running the operations, because we didn't go on anything. Hey, what's going on there, Top? But
what's going on, Robert?
But you start seeing that stuff, and then there's other things that we did when we were doing these funerals that I don't talk about. I definitely don't talk about it, because I don't know if any of the families watch the show or anything. But it's just things that you should never have to do. And it's one of the things. That's one of the things that has fucked me up, and things that I've dealt with, and things that this podcast has helped me talk about. And I think, I'll be honest. Last season, if you go to, I did a bonus. It was just me by myself, Doug was on vacation. I did a podcast just about Turbine 33, and I tried to talk. I did my best to try to talk about the guys. I didn't make it completely through it, but I think that podcast, it was kind of the breaking point where it was the first time I said it out loud, especially, even though it was just a recording, but I said it. It was talking. I was coming out. It wasn't just inside me,
Right.
And so I think that's why I kept going. I guess that was the long answer to why I kept the podcast going.
I love that, man. I'm going to open this up to Scott. Scott's got a lot of different aspects and views on things. He's been through, a lot of difficult experiences himself, and he's, coming from the National Guard side of things. He's coming from the other side of things, and I just love to open up to him to ask questions and kind of get what he sees and where he's coming from, and ask you some questions.
Yeah, just getting kind of all into this stuff. With Derek, moving up above me. He's my neighbor from upstairs, so it's kind of getting into the whole podcast and listening to you. He got me turned on to listening to you and your guys' podcast, and it's cool. Like I said, I have a difficult time with military stuff, not only for the fact that I didn't get to do anything because I was medically discharged a month of the day before we deployed because they found out I had some weird ass heart condition. Yeah. So with me, the term veteran kind of pisses me off in my aspect because I feel like I didn't do anything. But you guys had actually been through the shit, still going through the shit, God, I applaud you guys 110%, It's you guys, everybody's still family, the whole military aspect of it, So yeah, like I said, I just applaud all you guys for what you do, and everything like that. So, but it's hard, like you said, you were talking about the deal with Lone Survivor, those movies I don't watch. I don't think I've watched a military movie for, I don't even know how long, because it's I know what they do. I don't have to watch the movie, and it's still kind of, it hurts to watch, but yeah, so it's again, I just applaud you guys for what you do and keep pushing through, and yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so one of the procedures, one of the anytime something like this happens, right? This is another thing that just slowly weighed on me over the years.
There you go, brother.
I agree with that too, man. It's about if you volunteered, and when you signed that line, you knew there was a chance that you could go. What happens after that is out of your control,
Right.
So one of the parts that sucked was anytime something like this happens, you have to go through the debriefing, and
right.
You have to they make you listen to any of the black tape recordings that they have. And it just sucks, man, and that was one of the many times that it happened. Some of them were just training exercises. We had an aircraft that went down in the Philippines, and they were just training, and they were in fog and ended up getting too close to the water, and the front of when the Chinook blades are going, the front of the aircraft, the blades dip down to about 4 foot off the ground, and so when he got too low, I guess the waves were a little bit higher, and his blades hit the water, and it pulled him into the water. Well, you have to, when you go through that debriefing, you have to listen to that. They talk about what went wrong, and it's just miserable, You know, it's,
Yeah,
it's the worst. It's the worst day of your life.
I think people don't really understand what goes on stateside, and there's a lot to it. We have several incidences stateside. The general public isn't going to hear about those.
Right.
They're not going to hear about helicopter went down Yuma. Family, 6 families lose their loved ones. They're not going to hear
Yep.
that. We're
Yep.
hearing that. We know them people.
And everybody wants to focus on what went wrong. And you know what?
Not
I don't
what
give a
they
shit
did
about.
right.
I don't care what went wrong. At that point, you've got families that you need to worry about. That somebody just lost their
Loved one.
spouse, child, whatever, you know. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. We've had several. Like I said, we had several in the 10 years that I was there. We had several incidents, and some were overseas, some weren't, and it just sucks, man. You know.
No,
But
we
it
had
puts
several in the 4
it in your
years I was-
mind. Yeah, it puts it in your mind when you start deploying, and you're only going to be home for 3 months. So I mean, think about that too. So you come home, you're rushing, you're doing these funerals and everything else, and then within probably, I'd say, is probably 45 days after that, I was back across the water. You know, and so you
You're
don't really
right
get
back
that.
into what you didn't want to be a part of it anymore.
Yeah. And it wasn't so much that I didn't want to be a part of it. I was afraid of what I just witnessed and what I just watched was going to happen to my family.
Right.
You know?
I mean,
Well, just like you don't even get time to process. You know, you
You
go
don't.
from like coming home to funerals to basically be, getting ready to leave again. Like you don't even have time to process to, just take a minute to reflect, and you're right back in the shit again.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think that makes it worse because now you have it all just building up until there's nowhere for it to go.
I will tell you, it also changes, and I still deal with this. You know, people can call it whatever you want, but I still have issues. My anger towards Afghanis, Pakistanis, and stuff like that increased after that. You know, I had a different attitude when I was deployed and was around local nationals.
pretty
know.
naturally.
I mean, I'll be honest. By the time it was over with, I didn't even look at them as people anymore. You know, I really didn't, and I still deal with that today. You know,
Right. Well, let's break second rule of the podcast. You know, we won't talk about racism. We kind of become a little bit racist just from the experiences. I mean, it's not even necessarily racism. You experience a certain situation, and it's something I don't think people really ever think about. You know what I mean? Where it's like we were over there with a different culture, and you sit there and you witness this culture and the way they treated people, the way we saw them treat people, to us didn't make any sense.
right?
I didn't understand how you could treat women and children the way they treated women and children. And it's taken a lot to take a step back and go, that's not the women and children's fault. It's not that culture's fault. It's just shitty people being shitty people.
Well, and it's like the way they were, the way they were raised. It's like Donald said, there's a lot of them like here that won't see that. People on stateside don't see what they're like over there. Like me, when a bunch of that shit was going on, I talked to a bunch of people. I'm like, dude, they just need to nuke that fucking country and make it glass. Like
I've said the same thing.
I'm like, we don't need that shit. Like I had one guy that I was in AIT and talked to one guy at a bar one time, and he got on boots on ground. He was there 30 minutes doing a patrol and got shot, turned around, and he was looking dead in the eyes with a 14-year-old girl with a freaking AK that just shot him in the back because that's what she was trying to do. That's what she was raised to do because that's what it is. And, of course, you don't want to hear it. And the one guy's like, man, what'd you do? And he just looked. He's like, I did what I was trained to do. He's like, I put 2 in her chest and 1 in her head. And then I went home because I was shot. Like, I was done. But it's like, I don't know. In my opinion, you get people that are like, oh, well, they're not all like that. Bullshit. They're all trained the same. They're all raised the same. They're all taught the same.
Yeah. Imagine trying to process that.
Yeah. I mean, again, like I said, I don't want to go down into politics, but so while I was over there, right, and you see you work with the locals, and I was just telling this story the other day. I remember just digging into one of these Afghanis' asses because he was half filling the sandbags instead of filling them all the way up. They were half filling them, and for what a lot of people also don't understand is even though we were at war, we still have to follow SOFA agreements and everything else. And part of that is to try to keep some sort of an economy going in the country that we're fighting in. So we had to hire local nationals to come on base and do jobs. That particular day, the job was to fill sandbags. And what they would do is they would try to half fill the sandbags so they wouldn't be as strong and they wouldn't hold a hit if a rocket or something did hit them. And then while you're walking them around, they would pace count where the sleeping tents are and everything else. And you'd catch them doing it, So at the end of the day, in your face, they were doing what they have to do to survive. The people that were doing it weren't necessarily what you would call an enemy. They were on base, our friends. Off base, the people in their face was the Taliban, and they were their friends. And they did what they had to do to survive. So, I've tried to rethink my thinking. Part of that is because I've seen the negative side of our government as well. And I've seen how the soldiers are being used for people's gain versus for humanity, like you want to call it. It's not humanity. They're using soldiers to gain power and money and influence. And like I said, I don't go down the politics, but when you get out of the military and you look back and you're like, man, that didn't make no shit. Why did we do that? Why was KBR building all these buildings and then we just gave away? Why wasn't there other contractors over there? And you start putting the puzzle together about how the contracting side of the government goes and who wins the bids and how all that stuff goes down. And at the end of the day, war makes money.
Exactly.
For everybody. And a lot of people don't want to admit that, but it's true. So
exactly.
But so that's how the podcast just kept going, and
good job. Way to bring that back around.
Yeah, man.
I was gonna say good job on talking about just everything that you just talked about, because that was kind of what I was hitting at, is that it takes a lot to take a step back and look into the things. And that was really kind of the big emphasis that I wanted to hit on, because we're here for mental health and we're here for everything. And part of that is just saying, I have to take a step back and look at my life. I have to look at my past and I have to deal with my past. So I love that you just brought up what you just brought up.
Well, that anger, has been in me for a long time. When I first got out, I should have never opened up a business. I wasn't in the right mind to open up a business. But I still had that military mentality of I can fucking do whatever the hell I want. I don't fail. And but I should have never opened up a business. I should have never opened up a business that was going to put me in a truck, in a sleeper, by myself for 6 weeks at a time, driving 650 miles a day with nothing to do but think.
Right.
And
That's just too much.
yeah, and my life just steadily went downhill, and the rage inside me got worse and worse and worse until I finally had to get some help because it was getting to the point where things were going to get physical at the house, and
think
you know, I did things with my kids that, you know,
I think I
shouldn't have
just
been
watched
done.
the episode where you said you were gonna rip a guy out of his truck.
Yep.
And I was
because
like,
he was
I can
taking
connect
too
with
long.
that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
because he was taking too long. Because and to your fairness, it was what your Rob. What's his last name? The last veteran you
Robert
just had on.
DePrado.
Yeah, Robert DePrado. It was that episode, and you were talking about it, and I was like, man, I connect with that so much. Like, I
You
can
should have seen-
totally understand where you were.
You should have seen that guy's face when I ripped open that door.
Yeah. If you guys haven't checked out the Robert DePrado episode, check it out with two drunk dudes in a gun room. It was so good. Oh man, I love that. But we'll bring it back on topic. You were just saying that's what led you to keeping the podcast going and everything. And you know, I'm glad we get off topic on the show because we cover a lot of good points, and that's the fun in it.
So what brought you to the gunroom radio?
Yeah.
So when I started season 2, and it was by myself, so out of kind of a necessity. If you go back to, I don't even know if I got them on. I may have took them off. The first few episodes were really shitty because I wasn't used to doing them by myself. And sometimes I kind of go off and just start talking and fucking I don't know where I'm going to end up at. And my podcasts were turning into rants, you know, is what they were turning into, me just blabbing. And I was like, man, this sucks. You know, I didn't think I didn't want the podcast to become just another piece of shit podcast, you know? So that's when I really started reaching out hard, and I was just all over Facebook, man. I was stalking anybody and everybody and sending out invites. And next thing I know, man, I'm just getting a bunch of people. And then I think I came across the Contagion Effect. I think they asked me on the show. And then I may have had one artist before then, but then they hooked me up with some more artists and everything else. And after talking to these artists, man, I just kind of really related to them. You know, like where I was at in Ramadi was where Sal Gonzalez was. On the backside of that base, there was a little Marine base. Now the Iraqis have it, but before I was there, it was a Marine base, and there's a traffic circle on that backside, and it's right there in the center of the city, and it's a real dangerous, shitty area. And you know, when Sal Gonzalez was talking about that's where he encountered the IED and lost his leg and everything else, I could relate because not that I could relate to losing a leg, but I could relate to that area. I knew that area. I traveled that area. I drove through it several times. You know, there was a guy that would stand on top of a fucking building with an AK every fucking day. And as you're coming out the gate, he would just stand there and point the gun at you, you know? Right. And so I knew the dangers of that area when he was talking about them. And then I started listening to them and what they're doing to try to change a career, you know? There's nothing that transitions. I don't even care if you were in the Army band. There's nothing that transitions from I'm going to go from the military to I'm going to be a country singer, artist, songwriter. You know, there may be some skills that you have, but you're not going to go to no government funded service where they're going to teach you how to do it or put you in contacts. So listening to these guys' stories, man, I was like, dude, they got it worse than podcasters. You know, you get on podcast, you get on Spotify or whatever, and the algorithms just swallow you up. And next thing you know, especially if you watch your stats, if you're a stat person and you're sitting there, man, I got to see how many people watched me. You're fixing to be pissed off because at some point you're gonna start seeing zeros or ones and twos, you know. And it's because the algorithms quit pushing you as you get older. If you're not the new in or the like, then you just get swallowed up and nobody sees you. And you
Right.
have to market
Exactly.
yourself. And that's tough, man. It's expensive, you know. And so I seen a problem, and I knew how I thought I could solve it. But man, I'm gonna tell you, it didn't go the way I thought it was gonna go.
It never
I
does, man.
just thought I was gonna sign up for Airtime Pro and start broadcasting. People just give me their music and I'll just play it, man. You know, if they give it to me, it's fine, right? Yeah.
Right.
No, there's a lot of red tape to it. And when you start dealing with the music side of things, that's when I started realizing, and I had to make a decision on whether to move forward with this or not. I was talking with Guy from Operation Encore, and
Mhm.
I wanted to partner with them is what I really wanted to do. And I thought maybe if I had partner with them, that would help me get music in and get things on the show. Because up to this point, all I had was podcasters, you know. And Scotty Hastings gave me his song, so I had like 3 songs and a whole bunch of podcasts. And I was like, this is never going to go anywhere. And I was kind of on the fence about not doing it, because after I talked to him, he was like, well, how are you going to pay the royalties to the artists? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? And he started talking about all these other things that I never thought about. You know, I told him, I was like, he's like, are you going to have advertisements? I said, yeah. I said, the plan is to take all these 501Cs that I've done interviews with, and I'm going to make commercials, and that's going to be my advertisements. He said, you're just going to charge them like $20 or something. I said, I wasn't going to charge him anything. I was just was trying to get the word out. And that's when he was like, yeah, he said, this ain't going to work, you know. But he said something that really stuck to me. He said that they've spent about 2 years trying to find a radio station that would dedicate an hour to veterans, just an hour. And they couldn't find anybody. Everybody told them no. So that's where, you know, when I was deciding if I wanted to go forward, it had to become a business, is what it had to become.
Right.
And I really didn't want to own another business, but it really had to, in order to go for it, because I was going to have to sign license agreements with BMI and here hopefully soon ASCAP, and you know, so
what can we do with the podcast community, with everyone that's involved? What can we do to help with that?
So there's lots of things.
I'd love to pitch in $20, man.
So
I'd love to do anything.
At some point, I'm gonna put up a donate button on the website. But there's other things besides just money that help out, right? One is listening hours. Nobody advertises on a radio station that doesn't have any listeners. So, you know, you get a lot of people that pop on, stay on for a couple seconds, a couple minutes or whatever, and then they're gone, right? I call them TikTok radio listeners, because if they didn't like the first 4 words they heard, they were gone, you know, which is cool, whatever. But you have to have listeners to attract advertisers. And that's one way that I'm going to pay the fees and everything, is through advertisements. The other thing is just liking and sharing. That helps us because it sends out us to other new people. If there's people that want to get involved, so if you wanted to become a DJ, having somebody DJ that can dedicate 1 show a week, even as little as that, helps me out tremendously, because that's less scheduling I have to do. And until you do this, it sounds like really little shit, right? But what you don't understand is, when I do, let's say we'll just take the top 20. Top 20 songs takes me. So last night I did a podcast until about 10, and I hadn't done anything with the top 20. I hadn't even started it. I've been working 2 different jobs here lately, and so it's eaten up a lot of my time. I didn't finish that until 2:00 this morning, because not only do you gotta get the order of the songs, but then you gotta put them in the station. But then every song has to have a introduction. Our number 19 song is Scott Hastings but everything you say has to be edited. You can't
Hey,
just.
fuck you for not saying number 20.
That's right. You are number 20.
Hey,
But,
I take what I can get, man.
No, yeah, absolutely, man. And do that. When I seen that, I smiled, dude. That's awesome. I was like,
I do. I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you're doing and everything that goes into it, because I understand I don't understand everything that goes on behind the scenes. I know you're busy as shit. I know you're doing so much for everyone, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, because music is a way of life. And I don't think a lot of people understand that unless they're into music.
I didn't.
And what you're doing for guys and what you're doing for these gals and everyone that's involved, it's just instrumental in creating a culture and a lifestyle that does so much for so many people. So you're doing such amazing things, Donald, and I can't tell you exactly how much that means to everyone, because I know it means a lot more to a lot of people as well, but it means the world to me as well.
I appreciate that. Until I started talking with these artists, man, I knew people went to music for their escapes. I was never that guy. I like to hit people. That's what I like to do. So when I was in the military, I boxed. I was boxing as much as I could. I fought in Korea. I fought in Germany. I tried to fight in Fort Bliss. There just wasn't a team there. But that's what I love doing. That was how I was dealing with issues. Between working out and hitting shit, I felt good. So
Hey, maybe that's an idea.
I couldn't relate.
Maybe we do a hero boxing match between you and me. You can punch me in the face for like 15 minutes. Because I did MMA for 15 years or whatever it was. You could just punch me in the face. You could just punch me in the face because I'm too fat and slow to deal with things now.
I'd be out of breath just swinging.
Then after that, me and you can fight, because I'm really good at getting my ass kicked. So.
But
Jesus.
So yeah, man. But it wasn't my thing, and I think now that I've gotten into this, it's kind of brought me closer to music, because I can relate. I do remember happy times when you're deployed, you see these soldiers with a guitar singing or whatever. And by the end of the deployment, man, there'd be like 7 or 8 people. It'd be damn near a band out there, but you could see just for that moment in time where nobody was really worried about anything.
Exactly. Also, I'm worried about some stuff. I just got called out by my mama.
You got what?
I get called out by my mama.
Uh-oh.
Oh, jeez. But continue on. Yeah, you were saying that everyone's in their own space, and it is a miraculous feeling.
So, and I've got some ideas, right? This is just the beginning of it. If I go down this road, and I guess I'm gonna just go ahead and start talking about it. I've been talking with Jason a little bit about it too. I think Gunroom Radio should be more than just a radio station.
I think so too.
I am a firm believer that the reason why our military is so damn good is because it's literally like their own world. If you think about it, right? Hard times, the economy going through shit, it really doesn't affect the soldiers. Things are still pretty much the same price on base. We still pretty much are making the same amount of money. You might notice it a little bit if you're outside doing things, but for the most part, once you're in the military community, it's a whole nother world. It's like another country, And I felt like what I'm getting at is I think the radio station should also be a production um, company. I think we
so
should
too,
be
man.
setting
That'd
up,
be awesome.
because the biggest part of this and the reason for this was to get their music out in hopes that it would make connections. They could get gigs or whatever, to make money, to make a living, and continue to down their career. You know, the other part of the fact of why it's
Or
just
to start one.
veterans. What's that? Oh, there you go.
That's an order to start one.
Yeah, there you go. You know, and the other part about this, man, is people don't realize this. Let's take Shannon Book, right? Everybody that listens to the radio station knows about
He's
Shannon
so
Book.
amazing.
He is. But you know what a lot of people don't know is he's a 17-year Navy corpsman, right? That
Yeah,
means
which is
17
incredible.
years. That means, so the day he went in the Army, let's take a person the same age that
Hold on. So
started
the
a
day
band.
you went into the Navy,
Or the Navy. Sorry, I
I got
forgot
you,
that.
boo.
I was trying to improve his situation. That's right. It's a hardship for me. So he was in the Navy. But so, you know, if you take somebody that didn't go in the military and they're starting at the same age for 17 years, Shannon is serving the country, not doing anything towards a music career, not one thing.
Right.
And then he gets out. Where's that guy that started at? Probably towards the end of his career. But
Exactly.
Out of
now,
his prime, anyway.
yeah, he's out of his prime. So these artists are starting where the other artists are ending. So you put them on Spotify and everything else. The veterans have to work 10 times harder than people that are starting, that have never served, that are 19 years old, 18 years old.
Right.
You know, the trying to find the big labels and stuff, man, it's like unicorns. You know,
Exactly.
it happens for some. You know, Jen Ford's doing really good, but it's because she's busting her ass. You know,
Sorry,
she's
I just get yelled at again by my mom.
she is all over out there touring, you know, and it didn't come easy. So
Jen
I-
Ford, by the way, is freaking amazing.
mhm. I just
you've
voted for
been
her
voting-
for vocalist of the year for Texas.
Yeah, I was gonna say you started posting her stuff, and I was like, oh my god,
Yeah.
she is good.
And
Like,
that's what I
she's
feel
got
like.
so much talent.
So, you know, these people just need a place to be heard and not be buried,
Exactly.
you know? And that's what I hope at some point Gunroom Radio becomes, man. You know?
I hope so too, man. You've been doing such a good job at exposing other artists, and you know, it's just they do such a good job too. They've got such a position about them. They've got such an experience about them. They've got a lot behind their music that a lot of people that are 19, 18, 20 don't have. And I don't think people realize that because you're into what's popular. You're just kind of following the scenes. And when you really sit there and you look at the music and the lyrics and you hear somebody that's been through a lot and they've experienced a lot, it's different for me anyway.
Me too.
You can tell and you can hear the experience behind the vocals and the tones and everything. You know, I'm 33. I'm young yet for the most part, but I'm just now trying to learn all these secrets and hints and everything, and I'm trying to learn what life is. And I'm where a lot of 18-year-olds are, 19-year-olds are. You know what I mean? It's just it's a crazy thing, but I don't think about it like anything different. And I don't think a lot of veterans do. I don't think a lot of veterans sit there and go, "Oh, you know, I'm so far behind the game." They're just like, It's another day, man. Here we go. Let's dive into
Yep.
this. Let's make it happen. You know, I'm where I'm at. I'm still young. I'm still vibrant. I'm still doing what I have to do to survive.
And that's another reason why I thought, you know, why should it be just limited to trying to be on social media and fight and fight and fight to get people to come to your page, come to your radio station and listen to just a whole song, one song, you know?
Right.
And that's why I was like, that battle, man, it can bring that anger back in you again. You know, I'm not going to there's days I just feel defeated, you know? And that's when I
Absolutely.
you know, I was listening to Jason talk about making multiple hero stocks. And I was like,
I love that idea.
yeah, man, you know? And I was like, why am I fighting to try to bring this to everybody to me? Why don't I just take them to everybody else? And
I love that.
so,
That's so
so
awesome.
you know, my thoughts was, you know, first let's take it the next step and we'll make the radio station a 501c next year. And that'll open up hopefully to where we can get better donations because there'll be benefits for people to be able to donate, which will then help pay for some of these but help try to find some, you know, pay for some of these this stuff that's out there, you know. So that's where in a nutshell, that's where we started and where we're trying to go, you know.
So before you
We started from the bottom. Now we're here.
So before you started exposing these veteran artists, and you were just exposing yourself to everybody, and decided that everybody should be exposed. So how long were you doing the podcast before you started with the going to the gunroom radio?
So April was 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty good time.
Yeah. But yeah, and so, you know, and we had some cool people on before the radio too. You know, there's still to this day there's podcasts out there that I remember. So there's and it's still coming around. It still circles back around to you, right? So early in season 1, we had an old warrant officer of mine. He started a nonprofit out there in Washington State called Leaving the Sidelines, right? They take preventing suicide a step further, right? They're only right there in that area. But if you reach out to them, they don't just talk to you on the phone. They show up at your doorstep and sit with you until they can get you help.
No kidding.
Right?
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And
Incredible.
unfortunately, because of how involved they are, they're very small in an area, you know.
I mean, that's all you can do.
Yeah, it's a 501c, and we had him on, man, and you know, the story that he told was just incredible. So he was in SF before he became a warrant officer. He then left there, became a warrant officer. Yes, we did have an OnlyFans model come on our show too.
Hey, I need to watch that episode. Can you repeat that episode? What episode was that?
That was it was late last year, 50, 57, 56, somewhere around there.
Hey, get on the Google.
But yeah, her name is Samantha Rose.
Samantha Rose. All right.
Yeah. But she even gave away some free intros. People could sign up for free while she's on. But
See, all about exposing people. I love it.
That's exactly what it was, man. And there was a lot of people that liked that episode. What's going on? Oh, Jason.
I got it.
He's done with the jackdaw.
Down. All right, I got that written down now.
So
I feel better.
To give you a little
for
bit
those
of a
that don't know,
background,
Hero
to give you a
stock.
little bit of a background on that story, right? So she was actually my soldier for a while. She was not a mechanic. She was a truck driver. She was sexually assaulted, and they moved her out of that platoon, and they put her under me. Well, that didn't sound right either. But
This is not going any better for you. I'm just gonna let you know now.
but anyway, so I was her supervisor, and then she was getting the raw deal, because anybody that's been in the military knows we don't really deal with sexual assault. It's swept under the carpet, pushed behind doors. It doesn't really get dealt with. So for her coping method, she started smoking weed. She pissed hot. Doug, First Sergeant Norton, the guy that was with us, he got it to the point where she could stay in the military, and she pissed hot again. Second time they put her out, right? She was working for a car dealership that something went wrong. I don't know what they did. They literally she came to work, was getting ready to start her day, and the police walked in and said, "Everybody grab your personal stuff and leave. You may or may not have a job anymore. You will be notified."
Jeez.
And so I don't know what the owners of the dealership was in trouble for, but now she didn't have any way to pay her bills. So
That's
she
crazy.
became her own business owner, and OnlyFans it
Can't
was.
blame her. Cannot blame her,
And
man.
she was making more money from OnlyFans than she was from the dealership. So,
Oh, I'm sure.
you know,
There's a
I
lot
asked her, I said, "Are you planning on
help a lot
going
more.
back? Are you planning on going back to the dealership if it opens back up?" She said, "Nope."
I've been thinking about
Oh.
starting an OnlyFans where I have people pay me to put my clothes back on.
Yeah,
Just take pictures of
unfortunately.
just take pictures of your feet, bro.
Yeah,
Like,
unfortunately,
Jesus.
people just don't have to watch for me to put my clothes back on.
Yeah, man.
Kind of a sad thing about it.
So, but yeah, that's the backstory on that episode. It was a pretty
I
good
love
episode.
that. Oh, I'm sure it was amazing. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a listen for sure. And that's just, more props to you. You've had such a variety of guests, and you've met so many people, and I hope we get to bring in some of those people and talk to them, because we all do things different, and hopefully we can all learn some more from everyone's situations. I love that you got to talk to her, and you got the backstory, and you're getting it, because a lot of people are going to sit there and just judge,
Yep.
and that's what people do, is they just sit there and judge instead of listening to the real story and the story behind the story. And
Yep.
I'm thankful for guys like you that do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
And there's a lot of cool stuff. So like the cannabis that we just had on, I
Yeah.
thought that was, I don't even smoke weed, and I thought that was a pretty interesting story. I don't remember who it was. Somebody asked me to have somebody on about therapy with cannabis. So I started looking for somebody. I found her, and man, she put together one hell of a story, man. I mean, she was
I'm
pretty
sure.
intelligent. I've got the same look right now. I'm looking for somebody that's willing to talk about psychedelics. I want to have somebody come on and talk about psychedelic therapy, and just because I'm interested in it,
God damn it,
So-
Brian. You and your fucking crayons.
But yeah, man,
I get it.
I love
Green
podcasting.
crayons, because you smoke them.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm tracking now. Let's get some more green crayons in this mother hummer.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man, that's what I loved about podcasting. Is just every night I was able to just forget my problems and just talk to people.
I love that, man. So anyways, you have had the opportunity to talk to 1 billion people, I think, at this point, or something like that. why don't we go through everyone you want to give a shout out to? We're well over an hour. Why don't we start wrapping things up and try? Oh, gee, many Christmas. Good for you, Robert. He's dropping acid at Hero Socks.
Robert, you coming up? Are you coming up to Heroes? Are you coming up to Hero Stock? I hope so, man. I ain't seen you in like forever.
I hope so too, man. I'd love to meet everybody.
He was the first sergeant in a unit that I was in. He was at Fort Stupid.
No kidding.
I mean Stewart.
How cool. Oh man, how cool.
Dude, that'll be awesome.
That's
man.
awesome, Robert. I love it, man. But no, let's go through your shout outs and everything and just pimp your show, pimp shows, excuse me. I forget you got two sometimes.
So
pimp them out, man. Let's go through it.
The best way to find us, to be honest, is download our app, Two Drunk Dudes in a Gun Room. And man, that's a whole nother story of trying to create that damn thing. But
also, I'm looking for Robert. Come fucking Hero Stock. So
he will be too.
Yeah. But so download our app, Two Drunk Dudes in a Gun Room. It's on Apple. It's on Google. That's the best way because you'll have access to the podcast and the radio station all at the same place. There's Gun Room Radio on Facebook, Two Drunk Dudes in a Gun Room on Facebook, and then we've got a website for both. So there's Two Drunk Dudes in a Gunroom.com and there's gunroomradio.com that I'm way behind, but I'm trying to get it built. So I got
the app's been super easy, man. Thank
What's
God
that?
for that. I love your app because I also love how you have everything there where like you have references to other groups, associations, everything that you have on that app. It's so cool.
Yep. And
Like,
that was so when
anything with like XM, like Sirius XM, like a station or something like that. Have you talked to anybody and tried to figure that out? I think that might.
I looked into it. I did look into it, and this is another reason why I say so. When I ask people to share and listen, look, away from the veteran community, they just care about money. And if you don't have listening hours, and you don't have how many people that are listening, how long they're listening. So that was another part that I'm not a big fan of. You know, I never really kept great records as far as the podcast, how many downloads and so forth. You know, we was with Buzzsprout, and they would send like an email, hey, you just had your 5,000 download. You know, I think when I switched over to Spotify, I was at somewhere like 9,200 downloads or something like that is where I was at. And since I had the radio station, that was another thing that Operation Encore said. You need numbers because that's all they're going to care about. So sharing us, listening, I've even been reaching out to businesses and, you know, hey, if you got a bar and you don't have a band and you want free music, you know, hook your phone up to a speaker, play Gunroom Radio. So if anybody out there is at a local restaurant, a local place, and you think music is where it needs to be at, recommend us. It's free. You know, I won't even know who's using it. I don't have any tracking methods on it because I didn't set it up to make money. And so like I said, I don't have any. There's no sign in. You don't have to set up an account. I think I did. And I think I might have changed it. I did at one point have a sign in because I had a Excel spreadsheet of every place that was offering military discounts. So I didn't want people to get access because it was an Excel spreadsheet. I kind of wanted to know who was logging in and viewing that type of stuff. But that was the only section that required a login. And I don't think I think I've taken it off the app anyways. Yeah. So as of right now, there's you don't have to put in any personal information. Your name, no usernames, no nothing.
Yeah, you've been doing such a great job. You've been doing so much. You've put so much time into all of this. I mean, I really can't. I can't tell you how much it really does mean to all of us. I mean, just seeing the work that you put in, seeing the benefits that come out of it. If you ever doubt what you're doing, don't, because it's amazing. I've been so grateful to hear the musicians I've heard since you've started this radio station. I've been grateful for everything you've done with the app. I've been grateful for everything you've done with the podcast. You've done such an amazing job. And I don't think we see the benefits that we want ever, but you're doing amazing things. And I can't appreciate you enough for that.
I appreciate it, man.
That being said, we've pimped out the show. I'm going to kick it over to you first, Donald. What did you take from the show? What do you come from tonight learning something new?
One, that there might be some shrooms at Hero Stock.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. And evidently I exposed myself. So no, man.
I, for one, I'm glad that you do.
And I like
I've seen all of you and I love it.
No, a lot of it is just knowing that you can talk about these things. You can have feelings about the topics that we've talked about, and it's okay to not be okay, and just know that at the end of the day, you're at the end of the month, this month will be over and we'll start another month, so
I love that.
that's the biggest.
That's incredible.
That's probably the biggest thing.
Scotty, what'd you take from tonight's show?
That, everybody's there for somebody. Again, Donald, I appreciate everything you got going on. I mean, I appreciate, Derek for getting me turned on to Two Drunk Dudes in the Gun Room and Gun Room Radio and everything like that. And just, keep on keeping on.
I appreciate it, man.
I'll go. I learned there's going to be a lot more mushrooms than we thought at Hero Stock. We're going to find some fun at Hero Stock. But no, I learned a lot about you, Donald, tonight, and I'm grateful for everything. I'm grateful for your past and what led you to where you are. Because without you, we don't have a lot of stuff that we have today. We don't have the exposure that veterans are getting for music. We don't have the exposure that veterans are getting on the airwaves, period. So I'm super grateful for that. I mean, gosh, it's hard to put into words. Really is.
Well, hopefully everything you want to get done gets done,
Exactly.
With the production part of it and everything, because I know Derek probably is. I mean, I'm kind of super stoked about that because it gives a chance for just us, guys like us that just, started off singing and messing around just for fun, like an opportunity to actually get music out there,
Yeah, I agree, man. And again, like I said, I didn't do it with the intentions to prevent PTSD. That's what the podcast was about when we first started.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look on the bottom of my podcast, I always make sure that the suicide hotline number is there. My email address is there, to where if somebody wants to reach out to me, they can.
That actually reminds me, I've been meaning to do this the entire freaking show, and I'm just too stupid to remember to do it.
But the radio station was more about people's careers, but it does kind of tie, because since I've been doing this, some of the songs relate to me. The song Shannon Book Scott, Not Alone, man, I probably listened to that thing.
I think I've listened to it 600 times since you posted it.
I love it, man. It's an awesome song, and I can relate to it. Same with Malachias and Baptized by Fire. Those are just songs that I've related to. So I think there's benefits to it, even though I may not see it, but somebody may be listening to something that maybe gives them inspiration to not pull that trigger. you know.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, man.
Just
And
kind
I
of
love that.
anything, you know, because like, you know, I've gone through some shit the last 2 years, and it's like, you know, some days you need music, other days you need lyrics, you know. So it's, you know, there's certain
Or just
songs
hits
you listen to. Yeah, it does, and it comes in the weirdest spots. You know, I was listening to some of the hard rock, you know, listening to Octane on Sirius XM, you know, just to get my, you know, to clear my brain, and then all of a sudden them bastards throw in songs that are making me cry, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like, this is bullshit, you know. You know, I'm listening to this shit to not think about it, and here I am, and it's like, this is stupid.
Yeah. I get it, man.
All right, so we'll kick it over to TJ. What'd you take from the show? And then after you've given us what you've taken from the show, why don't you give us the extra special TJ outro?
Yeah, man, I'm gonna start pimping the gunroom radio out to everybody I see, and you know, force them to download the app, start listening, and
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm
but
going to start
also-
beating people off to get them to download the app.
yeah, you know, you gotta just
I'll
them all worked
uninstall
up.
it right now.
But no, for all you heroes out there that listen to the show, come on down to the Hero Stock, get your Hero Socks for Hero Cocks, and if our jacket off is, if our jacket off is half as successful as we hope it is, then you're gonna need them, you know.
Yeah. It'll be probably another month or so before any of that makes sense to any of the new listeners. When we start talking about the jacket off.
Yeah. Yeah, we've touched on it, you know.
Rapidly.
Yeah. But anyhow, that being said, if someone reaches out to you having issues, don't be a cocksucker. Do what you can to help them. Reach out and touch somebody that you haven't talked to in a while or hadn't heard from in a while. And you know, people that are usually sharing dank ass memes on the social medias, Facebook and Instagrams and stuff like that. If you're not posting those dank ass memes, you might want to check on them. Just make sure that they're doing all right.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, my God.
It takes one phone call.
Yeah.
It takes 10 seconds to do something better, or it takes one message from TJ where he says Hero Socks for Hero Cocks. And it just changes your day. This is everything I have in me right now not to laugh still about that. So I'm pretty proud of myself. Oh my God.
Oh, I'm sure there'll be some hot porta johns there, Robert.
That's getting made into a clip for sure.
We can make it a commercial.
Oh,
There you go.
fuck. I knew I forgot something this show. God damn it. I've got a fucking commercial to throw in here, but I haven't fucking added it yet. God damn it. Son of a bitch.
We'll get it figured out one of these days.
I'm throwing it in here. You guys keep talking because I'm fucking making this thing happen. This is going to happen whether it's the last thing I do or not. We're
it's a
getting the
commercial, I think
gunroom
it
radio commercial on here.
So I just fixed it because I didn't realize it was done in a phone format. So I did change it. I'll send you the one where it's full screen.
You gotta send me the right format then.
I will. You can still play it. That's fine. But I
can't find it because I'm an idiot.
Okay.
I mean, you can send it to me,
I'm
but
gonna
we'd
get
be in
that
the same boat. So
Exactly.
But yeah, I'll send it to you, man.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Your dad's comment.
My old man said tube socks, not crew socks.
both.
Both.
You know,
Yeah.
we're trying to accommodate everybody here. All right.
The
All
tube
right,
socks
let's get
are like
off here
magnums.
before we get too far. Just too much. I love you guys, man. This makes my day every time we do this. Seriously, I can't tell you guys how much I love you. It means the world to me to have you guys here. Thank you, Donald, for sharing your story with us and doing everything that you've done. It's been incredible. Really has.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Hell yeah, man.
Oh, God, I got yelled at again. Jesus, criminally. Yeah, let's get off of here before I get in too much trouble. Oh, hold on. I got to copy a number real quick. Yep, and done. All right, cool. I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in for this episode. I think I said turning in.
Turning in.
I screwed that up.
Whatever.
Good for me. Thanks for tuning into this week's episode. And remember, Hero Socks for Hero Cocks. Love you guys. Thank you much for tuning in. Take care, guys.